I don't disagree with that. And I think also because when you're animating something like this, it's way more complicated than just say like a person. Because a person has like curved lines and maybe a t-shirt or some clothing and whatever.
Oh, you're taking my language, brother. Ooh, a few curved lines, some clothing.
I'm talking just arms. And the face is...
Yeah, I hear you, brother.
And the face is just like a blank canvas with a few things thrown on. But here, because everything is boxy and shaped a certain way and they have to shift perspectives and transform, that's very difficult to do in 2D or very time consuming and difficult. So I think, when you get shots like that iconic one of Optimus leaping in the air and like doing a twist.
And he's flipping in the air and he's shooting all the Decepticons. Oh my goodness.
That's good stuff, man. But no, I don't disagree in terms of like, it's not Akira.
No.
I guess would be it.
Yes.
If I was to pick like a movie which has got some of the most iconic animation of all time and compare it to Transformers, I would say that other one is better than this.
They are of roughly the same era though, so
yes, that is true. Were you traumatized by the death of Optimus Prime? It's a great fight, by the way.
No, my sister was.
Yeah.
Here's the thing also, depending on the version you watch, at the end of the movie, a little voiceover comes in and it says Optimus Prime will return.
Yeah.
Apparently they added that in some cuts because children were too upset. My version did not have that.
No.
As far as I was concerned, he was dead for good, and I'm glad.
Yeah. Optimus Prime will not be returning. Please purchase Rodimus Prime.
That's right. Or he'll be next.
Yeah, dry your eyes and purchase Rodimus Prime. But the reason, though, that happened, this is quite a famous story, I guess you could say. So they were also working on a G.I. Joe movie as well at the same time, which from what I remember is fine. I'm not really a G.I. Joe guy. I think you were more, I don't know.
I have seen it and it is fine.
Anyway, so Duke in that...
That's our G.I. Joe episode, folks.
No, we've done G.I. Joe episodes.
Forget it then.
Oh, actually, we've got a Snake Eyes episode coming up as well.
That's true.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So the idea in that was to kill Duke. So the people behind this went, well, we'll kill Optimus then also.
Oh, yeah.
But then this ended up coming out before the G.I. Joe movie. So they changed the G.I. Joe movie to be like, oh no, he's fine.
Yeah.
He came out of his coma and he's fine. So it just ended up being Optimus Prime dying and Duke getting speared with a snake, but then being okay.
That's right.
Now, I have thoughts, Mason.
Go on.
About the whole Hot Rod / Rodimus Prime situation.
Is your question, do you think that Rodimus Prime sometimes is awake at night and he goes, geez, this is actually kind of a downgrade if I'm honest. I was the coolest car in the universe.
Yeah.
And now I'm like a weird family camper van, but I got flames down the sides. Can I go back? Can I somehow go back?
Yeah.
The answer is yes, James. He does it in the British comic books.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, that is one thought. That his upgrade, like he gets bigger in robot form and he turns into a camper van.
That's right.
That's bad. That's not good.
No. Does that mean that Optimus Prime originally was a real cool guy before he got the Matrix of Leadership?
Well, he was...
No is the answer, James. I know the answer is that, but what if it was?
He was Orion Pax.
I know.
Nerd.
What does he turn into?
It's probably like a block. But anyways, I always had the opinion, I would say even till recently, that Ultra Magnus should have been the leader. Because he's got the look.
Oh, yes.
But here's the thing, watching this again...
He's got the look. Anyway.
Yeah.
He's got a real rock set about him.
He does, doesn't he? But I've had my mind changed.
Okay.
First of all, he just doesn't have it. You know that thing you need?
The touch.
The touch.
Yeah, he doesn't have the touch.
The Riz.
Yeah.
He doesn't have it, Mason.
No, I agree.
That's for the kids, me using that word.
Yeah, no,
I'm
I
sorry.
liked it.
I'm
That's
sorry.
good.
The first test that he has from Optimus, where Optimus is like, you can be the leader, is that he drops the matrix of leadership.
That's true.
Listen, mate, if you haven't got fucking hands, no, you cannot be the leader.
Agreed.
Get in the bin. The other thing is, I know he's like a more developed character now. Like, all of them are. Don't fucking at me with your Transformers lore. But,
Okay, I won't. Sorry.
But he is, by design, bargain bin Optimus.
I don't know if I agree
In
with
design,
that.
and this is why though,
Okay.
because I had my suspicions, and this is right. So in the early script, Optimus Prime's death was different. Now, since the Matrix of Leadership had not been thought up at the time,
He died on the robo-toilet.
I shouldn't have had this robo-fried peanut butter sandwich.
He died with so much energon in his robo-bowel.
Optimus Prime would have handed over his own essence, so a white-coloured Optimus Prime would emerge from his body to take its place inside Ultra Magnus. And the original Ultra Magnus toy...
It is Optimus Prime.
It's
but
Optimus
white.
Prime
Yeah.
with some shit, like, stacked onto it.
That's true, yeah.
So that's my point, Mason. He's Optimus Prime, but he doesn't have it, Mason.
No, I agree.
You know what they've gone with here? They've gone with the MASH effect.
Okay, you're going to have to explain that. I think even more so, I think there are plenty of people here who are familiar with Transformers, but less the Korean War dramedy MASH.
Mason, the finale of MASH is still the highest rated TV event of all time, maybe.
That
all right?
cannot be true.
Yeah, well, it is, maybe.
All right.
Or it was for a time.
Now it's the Good Doctor. The Good Doctor finale.
So, in MASH, whenever a character would be replaced in the show, either they died or whatever, they would replace them with not just the same guy again, but the opposite. For example, Trapper John McIntyre was a bit of a womanizer and a cad and a ladies' man, and he was replaced with BJ Honeycutt, who was a family man.
Oh, yeah.
Henry Blake, who ran the MASH hospital, the 4077, he was a civilian doctor turned reluctant colonel, right? He didn't even want to be there, he just wanted to fish. Anyway, when he was shot down over the Sea of Japan, they bought, spoiler alert, they bought in career army man Sherman T. Potter. Frank Burns, terrible doctor.
How many more of these do you have?
This is the last one.
Okay.
Frank Burns, terrible doctor, bumbling fool. He was replaced by Charles Emerson Winchester III, played by David Ogden Steers, big fan. And he was a world-class surgeon who gave Hawkeye, not that one, a run through his money, Mason. So I like the idea of picking somebody you wouldn't necessarily expect who has a different kind of vibe.
An unlikely hero.
Exactly. I don't necessarily think that this paid off in the animated show afterwards. Also because they ended up going, yeah, Optimus Prime is back, and Hot Rod, you can lie down for a minute.
Yeah.
But I appreciate that it's not just a carbon copy.
Yes.
Is what I'm saying. Anyways, Megatron. Him getting rebuilt, that's great.
That's
Love
cool
all
as
that.
hell, yep.
I don't know whether I agree with the decision to bring in Leonard Nimoy to take over from Frank Welker.
I don't know.
I know he's a name and he's got a great voice.
Yeah, he does.
And he comes back in Revenge of the Fallen. He does a voice in that or something. Optimus Prime shoots him in the head in that movie. We've covered them. We looked at all of those movies.
He's a sentient vending machine, and Optimus Prime shoots him in the head.
Yeah. I like him though. I prefer the Megatron design though, I believe. And here's something fun. So Welker had previously provided the voice Screams Only for Spock in Star Trek III: The Search for Spock.
Oh.
And they flipped it.
That's a real Garfield, Lorenzo, Music, Bill Murray situation.
It certainly is, Mason. Here's something I didn't know. RC also.
The cola.
Yes. The pink lady. So one of the original demands for the Transformers toy line and cartoon series that there'd be no female Transformers because this was marketed strictly for boys. This was boys only.
That's right.
And men.
Boys don't like girls. We all know that.
That's true. However, writer Ron Friedman fought hard to include female robots in the Transformers lore, as his daughter was a huge fan of the franchise, and that led to the debut of the first female Transformer in this.
There you go.
So that's fun.
Yeah. And like 20 years later, you can finally get an RC
Yeah, I
toy, so
know, right?
well done, everybody.
We did it.
Yep.
Here's some things I noticed and that I liked,
Oh, yes.
except for one thing that I didn't like.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Is
here
that
we
going to
go.
be the end, or are you going to make me guess?
I'll make you guess.
Okay, great.
Here we go. Cup and Hot Rod hanging out together. That's a great pairing.
I agree.
I'm loving that. An old vet, a veteran, and then young Hot
And
Rod's
then
like,
the latest hot model. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
good, isn't it?
that's great.
And Cup, you know, he's like he's always razzing the kid, but he believes in him, and I think that's lovely.
Yeah, it's good to believe in
Yeah,
somebody.
yeah. And you know, Hot Rod put him back together after he died.
That's a
A very fun. It's interesting that after Optimus Prime is killed in a very dramatic fashion, the rest of the movie is other characters being killed and then just being put back together with like a bit of spit and sticky tape.
Yep.
And then they're fine.
including Ultra Magnus. A joke, Mason. He's a joke. I love Soundwave's loyalty to Megatron. I mean, to a point.
Yeah.
He did let him just get like dropped out of the Astro train. He
thrown into space, yeah.
Yeah, and that's fine. But just how he's just like, nah, he's my mate. I'm gonna look after this guy. I'm not gonna be late. My voice is weird. People make fun of me.
The Constructicon said I had no charisma. That hurt actually a little bit.
I think he's got it. He's got it, Mason.
Would you say he has Riz though?
I would say more so than Blaster, the Autobot equivalent.
Okay.
It's not as cool, I think.
Yeah.
I love King Starscream.
Oh yeah.
Got the crown. He's looking good.
Yeah.
He's just like finally, after 2 seasons of telling Megatron every episode that one day I'm going to kill you and I'll be the head of the Decepticons.
That's right.
And Megatron's like, I hope not.
Yeah.
he finally
I'm
gets his
going to
moment.
definitively kill you. I'm not going to throw you out into space, and there's a chance you'll be revived by some sort of weird robot demigod, and you'll come back and get me. I'm going to definitely kill you.
For real.
I'll shoot you in the head before I do that.
Yeah.
Oh, nuts, I forgot.
Anyway, he gets his moment.
Yeah.
I love it.
And you know what? One of the things I do remember that still holds up is him being absolutely turned to dust by Galvatron.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good shot.
Really good stuff.
And then Galvatron almost immediately just falling down the stairs.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got a headache. I'm falling down some stairs.
Maybe Galvatron you could turn into the turret that you... What are you doing? He's a handgun, then he's a turret? How about something mobile? You know?
He is mobile, James.
In a sense. Because he can walk and fly and
No,
stuff.
the later versions he has treads.
Treads.
Yeah.
Junk.
It's like a little tank.
Yeah, no, I get it, but like that's junk.
Is this the thing you don't like?
No.
Oh, wow. So it's two things you don't
I didn't
like.
mean to get into that.
You didn't mean to get riled up with Galvatron design.
I didn't.
so
I
much.
didn't.
Wow.
I love the human transformation suit. You put it on a person and you're like,
Does that break all your limbs when you turn into a little car?
probably.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
But that's fine.
Yeah.
And I've written here, Eric Idle is a very unpleasant character. Which one of these things do I not like, Mason?
I think it's that one.
Yeah,
You don't
it's-
like his performance as Wreck-Gar.
No, because it's just like Earth commercials. And this is already a commercial. You know?
Right.
Like, if you got Eric Idle, give
Yeah.
him something to do, you know? Not just this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Make him, replicate the cheese shop sketch.
Exactly.
Jokes on you, he wasn't in the cheese shop sketch.
I
Unless
hate
he
it.
was, I can't remember.
I hate it when the joke's on me, Mason.
That's right.
I like making jokes about people.
I'm just going to double check. He might have been in the cheese shop sketch.
Now, I like the soundtrack in this. It's got Weird Al, for one.
Oh
That's
my God,
cool.
it really does.
This version of the Transformers theme song,
By Lion.
Incredible,
Oh my God.
obviously.
Yeah.
one of the best. You got the touch.
Yeah. Is it the fact that they reuse? Is that your issue?
Like during it.
Yeah.
It's unrelenting.
It is
It's
unrelenting.
like you need to
Yeah.
have a moment where maybe there isn't music.
uh-huh.
Just like a few seconds every now and
Yeah,
then. You know?
sure, yeah.
But look, that's a minor complaint, but I feel like it makes the whole thing feel like hectic and busy when maybe it doesn't need to be all of the time.
Yeah, but see, this was the TikTok of its time.
That's
Kids
true.
were loving this. You've got to keep their attention.
Yeah, no, you're right, yeah.
Huh?
Here's something that'll keep your attention, Mason.
Go on.
When they said shit in this movie. did the version you see have...
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, it did.
Oh shit, what are we gonna do now?
Did your parents turn to you and just slap you, give you a cuff across the ear?
Yeah, but it was unrelated. It was just time for that. They checked their watch and they delivered a slap. Just kidding. My parents are delightful.
Yeah, so this was infamous for having the line, "Oh shit, what are we gonna do?"
Yeah.
This was removed from all home releases until the year 2000. Yeah, so that's fun and good. Anyways, Mason, it's time for green trivia. And also, it's Rodney's retirement, everybody.
Oh, yeah.
I think this joke has run its course. And maybe he'll return. And I understand people will call for it. But every now and then, you have to just let something go,
Yeah.
you know? And if it's beautiful and wonderful, it'll come back to you maybe. Or we'll forget.
We'll probably forget. In fact, that's absolutely the thing we'll do.
Yeah, but he'll always be with us.
Yeah.
So let's roll it one more time.
Rodney! 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 Rodney!
I'll miss him.
Yeah, me too.
So Orson Welles was quite sick at time of recording, and a lot of his dialogue was laboured and unusable. Synthesize, making his voice robotic, Mason.
Oh, yes.
That helped bring it together.
That's
In
terrific.
the end, yeah. When asked about his role, though, he said, "You know what I did this morning? I played the voice of a toy. I play a planet. I menace somebody called something or other. Then I'm destroyed." Now, apparently, though, when he was cast, he expressed admiration and excitement for animation as a format. So,
There you go.
he was dying. So maybe that's why he was grumpy.
Yeah.
Yeah. One potential plot proposed by writer and story editor Flint Dilley and creative director Jay Backel would have involved Optimus Prime embarking on a journey to discover the origins of the Transformers race.
Oh.
Which we sort of got in one of the Bay movies.
Yeah, and we did get it in the comics and the cartoons as well.
Yeah.
You know the Quintessons? I think in the cartoon continuity, they created the Transformers.
Cool.
But in other continuities, it was something else.
It was somebody else or
some
something.
bloke in a garage.
Great.
It was Wahlberg.
I doubt it. So they find out that their home planet is actually a giant robot itself, and using the Matrix, the planet Cybertron would have transformed into a robot to face off against the evil Transformer planet Unicron.
Whoa.
A pawn of the Quintessons. I'm sure that's happened before, like Cybertron transforms into something, I assume.
Yeah, so also in the American comic books,
Yeah.
Unicron and his nemesis Primus,
Yeah.
not the band,
No?
they started at the beginning of the universe, and they were in like a different plane of existence, and then Primus tricks Unicron into like putting his spirit into an asteroid, and then the asteroid turns into Unicron, and Primus turns into Cybertron.
Damn.
And so, and Unicron, Primus is like, well, I'll create a race of sentient robots, and they'll be able to live on this planet. And Unicron's like, well, I'll become a real big dude. What do you think about that? I'll be bigger.
That's pretty good. They're both pretty good options.
I think
feel.
so, yeah.
So the band who sings the song on the soundtrack called Nothing's Gonna Stand in Our Way and Hunger is listed as Spectre General, but the band's name is actually Kick-Axe. So when the soundtrack was being assembled, they thought the name Kick-Axe sounded too threatening, so they listed them as Spectre General, but the band was not notified of this change.
I see.
So that's fun.
Yeah.
And the last bit of green trivia is that Shockwave is actually in two movies from 1986. This movie and the movie Aliens. The toy of him is a spray-painted silver and half-transformed, some kind of medical tool.
Oh, I didn't know that.
In a medical bay.
Okay.
And I went, that's great. Anyway, box office for this.
Not good.
Bad.
Oh, very bad.
Really bad. So on a budget of $5.6 million, the box office return was $5.8 million. And that's only in the US and it was sort of released in other regions, but it didn't get like a full rollout, if you will, all around the world. It was the 99th biggest film of the year.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Hasbro, between this and the My Little Pony movie, lost $10 million in 1986 on these absolute follies. Mason.
Yeah,
But
wow.
Since then, obviously, it's become somewhat of a cult classic.
Yes.
And it has made its money back and then some, with re-releases on VHS and Laserdisc and DVDs and YouTube reviews. All of these things
Yeah.
benefit this movie.
Yeah.
Which, all in all, I didn't think I was going to like it that much, but there's a lot of fun in this, Mason.
I think there's a lot of charm to it.
Yeah. It's cool.
It is cool.
It's got Riz, Mason.
It's got Riz.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think it's got
Let
Riz.
us know below if it's got Riz.
Yeah.
And while you're down there, you might be in the description. That's a great place to poke around in because there's actually a link to bigsandwich.co.
That's right.
Where our videos, Caravan of Garbage videos, always go up there early, including next week's series that we're starting.
Welcome to Critical Role Demystified. I'm Mike Christensen, and this is the series where we break down the lessons we can learn as GMs and as players from episodes of Critical Role. Today we're tackling episode 31, Gunpowder Plot. As a reminder, when my Patreon reaches 1,000 members, my Critical Role Demystified series will go weekly. The link for my Patreon is in the description below. A quick note, some folks have asked about the character levels of Vox Machina. After the last session, Scanlan and Percy and I believe Vax all hit level 12, and they were the last to get to that level, so now, apart from Pike, the party is all level 12. However, that number is a little skewed since they have a ton of magic items due to the difference in their home game being played in Pathfinder versus how D&D 5e as a system assumes DMs will handle magic items. Plus, there are just so many players, they end up facing threats much earlier in their D&D career than a party of 4 might be able to handle at their level. That's something we'll probably talk about a lot more when we get to the next arc of the campaign, but we're not there yet. When the last episode left off, the party divided into 2 teams to attack 2 different noble houses. Scanlan is attacking the house of Duke Vedmire to cause a distraction, while the rest of the party assaults Count Tyleri, their true target. We open with Scanlan's side quest, possibly to keep the tension up for the most people since the rest of the party is waiting to see what happens with their quest. But honestly, probably because Scanlan just charged into a house as a Triceratops and everybody really wants to see what's going to happen. And speaking of seeing what's going to happen, you should really watch this scene play out. The time codes are on screen, the episode is linked in the description as always. It's absolutely worth your time to watch this chaos unfold. As the episode opens, Matt gives Sam some homebrew Triceratops stats. Then Matt describes Scanlan bursting through the doorway and entering a house with a bunch of guards ready on the stairs with crossbows. Sam jokes that he can take them, and we'll discuss that later, but I think there's a very deliberate reason Matt has these guards here, because the nobles in town are prepared for an attack. And there's a bit of foreshadowing as well for something they learned during the Tyleri mission, but we'll get there. We also see Duke Vedmire, who is a Goliath warrior, but Scanlan doesn't see any mages or anything like that, so all he's dealing with are martial enemies. Now Sam says he should leave, but he wants to have a little fun first. When else is he going to be a Triceratops? The cast weighs in with pros and cons, but Matt quickly cuts the discussion off and says they're not there. What is Scanlan doing?
How far away are those doors on the sides?
Over here, it's
Yeah.
about 35 feet. Get that way.
I'm gonna turn right and blast through that door.
You're gonna shoot. Okay.
I don't want to get shot, so I'm just going through the door. Oh shit, it could be trapped. Oh well, we'll find out.
We'll find out.
But of course, this is Whitestone. This is the Vox Machina campaign. No door would ever fall to something as lowly as a Triceratops. He basically gets stuck in place, he's out of movement, and the guards open fire. But he only takes 30-something damage. Not that bad, all things being equal. By the way, rules as written, Scanlan should be making concentration checks to maintain his form as a Triceratops, but don't worry, the cast gets that wrong a lot. It's very rare on Critical Role for the spellcasters who polymorph themselves into dinosaurs to ever make concentration checks. Scanlan bursts through the door into a dining room, and Sam says, I should get out of here, but it's so fun. And I'd like to quickly round up the reactions of the cast to this scene. Taliesin is on Team Stick Around. Scanlan's a Triceratops. If he picks the right strategic choke point, he could take out a ton of guards. Marisha refers to Sam as a drunk guy at a craps table, basically saying he is getting lucky, but that luck will run out at some point, and Sam might not know when to quit. Liam is just constantly encouraging Sam to get the hell out. You did your job, now run and live. Laura is just kind of along for the ride. She seems to agree that Scanlan should leave, but also that some good strategic moments might lead to some more dead guards. And Travis is 1000% hype beast, you're good, have fun, play in the space. Scanlan drops the Triceratops form, and the cast suggests maybe he can use his turn to start a fire. After all, that is what he was sent here to do. And Sam's response is this.
Can you set a blaze?
I will drop. I don't have any fire. I don't know why I was sent into this mission. I don't do fire things. I will drop my form. Is that an action or is that just?
You have a lantern.
You can drop it in a moment.
Don't you have a torch? Or a lantern? Or a lantern?
Triceratops shrinks down to gnomish form now in this partially destroyed dining room area. What are you doing?
I'm going to hold on.
How did this plan happen then?
It's a great.
We're a bunch of
Why did you
slapdicks.
say
That's
I
why.
don't have fire?
Scanlan pokes around the corner and casts Stinking Cloud on the guards and gets all of them in the radius. He gets hit by one crossbow bolt and then he ducks under the broken table and casts Dimension Door and appears on the rain-soaked roof. And about this time, he realizes he does have something to set the house on fire. He has a potion of fire breath, which gives him 3 bursts of fire breath. He leans over and sets the front of the house on fire, and then he does the same for the back. And then...
You also do see on the opposite side a hatch slam open, and you see a giant, meaty Goliath hand.
Oh shit!
Now stepping out into the rain, you see the Goliath Duke Vedmire step up with his 2-handed sword.
Oh shit!
It's like Duel of the Fates
Oh god!
on a burning rooftop in the rain.
This is so exciting!
Giant Goliath
Gets up there.
and a gnome that breathes fire.
Looks like a Frank Miller comic right now.
Scanlan summons Bigby's hand and tries to shove Vedmire off the wet roof.
I want you to go ahead and make a strength check with the hand.
Oh shit, he's strong.
The strength is +8 so add 8 to this roll.
17 plus 8.
Natural 1.
Oh my god!
Of course.
I'm gonna kill everyone in this motherfucking house.
Scanlan rushes to the hatch and breathes fire into the house, catching 2 guards in the blast.
All you gotta do is get away for this to be amazing.
Otherwise, you burn alive on roof.
tragic.
So Scanlan does a trust fall off the roof and lands on Bigby's hand, and rides this glowing purple hand down and escapes. And so concludes one of the most epic sequences in the history of Critical Role. As he leaves, he sees some townsfolk attacking one of these zombie giants in the streets. This is Matt's way of signaling that the rebellion is working. Vox Machina's efforts to take down the nobles is inspiring the townsfolk. I suspect Matt is implying that even just seeing some smoke come from Vedmire's house is actually enough to rally the villagers to rise up to war. So then we hop over to the other house and see how that's going. Grog and Trinket burst through the front doors of Tyleri's house, and, just like at Vedmire's home, the guards are waiting with crossbows set to fire, and Grog gets peppered with arrows. Well, with bolts. Count Tyleri emerges and leaps onto the ceiling and skitters across it, because he's a vampire. The party didn't remember this, but when they first heard Tyleri's name from Desmond, we had learned that Silas had hung Tyleri's dead body from the Sun Tree. So if they'd remembered that detail, then when they got to Whitestone and learned that Tyleri was still running around and ruling a house that the party could attack, there could really only be one conclusion. He a vampire. Meanwhile, Vex, Vax, Percy, and Keyleth go through the back of the house, but then they wind up spending a minute wandering around inside, trying doors for a while before they can actually find the main room with the battle. Keyleth is also keeping an eye out the window for smoke from Scanlan's fire, since that was the plan, wait until they see the smoke and use that as a signal. As they enter the foyer, we get to see Percy go absolutely ham, moving his hex from one target to the next as he just kills guard after guard after guard. Now here's a great moment. This is the first time Grog has used Reckless Attack, which gives him advantage on attacks on his turn, and then all attackers get advantage on attacks against him until the start of his next turn. Which, look, when you're basically the only target and there's like 10 archers and a vampire, maybe that wasn't the wisest tactical move, but that's alright. People make suboptimal choices in D&D all the time because they want to use their new cool power, and that's not really the point I want to make. However, because it's the first time they've used the power in this game, they've read it wrong. Grog should have had advantage on all of his attacks, but they thought he only got advantage on his first attack. As the round continues and every enemy gets advantage to hit him, the cast is increasingly vocal that Travis should never use this power again. It is so clearly terrible. And as Count Tyleri goes to bite him, he rolls a natural 1. But then he gets to reroll because of advantage. And as the cast is once again decrying how terrible this ability is, Matt realizes something has to be wrong here, and he checks the rules again. He knows this ability can't just be this terrible. Something is wrong with their interpretation. And sure enough, yes, all enemies do get advantage for a full round, but Grog should have had advantage on every attack. and they'd gotten that wrong. So in the interest of fairness, and in his words, as retribution for getting it wrong, Matt decides that the natural one stands. Tyleri will not get advantage on this one strike. Now, I made a whole other video about how to admit your mistakes and normalizing admitting your mistakes, but something I didn't touch on is moments like this. Sometimes you need to make a trade to balance the scales. You can't really go back after several minutes and re-roll all of Grog's attacks. Too much has happened since then. But you can offer something that tries to make it as fair as possible. So in this case, Grog didn't get advantage on a strike. Tyleri doesn't get advantage on a strike. It's also the fastest, most immediate way to make things fair and then move on, which is also really handy. Anyway, Trinket gets a natural 20 and gets the "how do you want to do this" on Tyleri, which is a historic moment. Of course, he just turns into mist because he's a vampire. Count Tyleri, I mean, not Trinket. That would be quite a twist. Keyleth finally reaches the foyer, but now she doesn't see Tyleri and doesn't know that he's a vampire, and that's what the mist is near her friend's feet. And Marisha really doesn't want to metagame. She doesn't want to have Keyleth blast this mist with a sunbeam with no good reason. Even though she, as a player, knows that she definitely would be able to kill that vampire. But Laura and Liam argue, no, Keyleth saw the vampires transform into mist at the Sun Tree's roots. Matt asks her for an intelligence roll, and she gets a 17, which, that's probably good enough in 5e. I think that would be fair to make the connection. But Matt is also trying to factor in that all Keyleth sees is some mist on the floor. Again, I personally disagree with this ruling, but we have some factors to consider. One, everyone feels differently about metagaming. I made a whole other video about it. It's a very complex topic. 2, Critical Role had a metagaming problem for months, so they're particularly sensitive to metagaming. 3, they're probably still thinking of Pathfinder numbers. And 4, Matt and Marisha are especially sensitive to perceptions of metagaming and fairness and bias, because Marisha is Matt's girlfriend. Now that shouldn't matter, but sadly, a lot of people online who don't know these players personally are very quick to level accusations of unfairness anytime they perceive Marisha getting any kind of special treatment, or anytime she does something that would bother them at their own table, even if it doesn't bother Matt. So Matt is sometimes especially firm with Marisha about what is and isn't reasonable. Personally, I consider this a little bit of an overcorrection, but I'm in the future. I have the benefit of hindsight to know that this approach didn't work at all. Those people continue to harass Marisha for perceived mistakes and perceived special treatment, no matter what Matt did. But I suspect that's just one of the many reasons why Matt was more strict in moments like this, and particularly didn't feel like a 17 was enough to link this mist to vampires. Grog and Percy try to chime in and tell her that it's a vampire on her turn, but I actually do agree with Matt when he shuts that down. Grog's in a mindless rage, he wouldn't stop and explain what's happening. And Percy would only know to do that because Taliesin knows what Marisha is struggling with, so that really would be metagaming. Honestly, the solution the group will eventually land on is that players usually need to take time on their turn to say these things, and can't just chime in unprompted with relevant information on other players' turns as a form of metagaming, and generally that approach works pretty well for their game. Now, Marisha describes this as a black mist, which is just a misunderstanding. Sometimes players get a mental image in their head, and it's really hard for them to shake it. But in her mind, there's black mist, and she's not allowed to know that that's a vampire. So she argues that Keyleth would think it's probably some kind of poison that's near her friends, so she would cast Wind Wall to get it away from them. And out of character, she laments the idea that doing this might actually help the vampire escape, but she has to act honestly for what Keyleth would do. Well, then Tyleri tries to do just that. He starts to leave. But Laura pulls out some excellent rules lawyering.
Tyleri is going to make...
He's still alive?
He's a mist.
cloud.
All right,
Fucking mist.
the mist pushes past. He's gonna use second action.
He pushes past the wind wall,
Oh, he's in the
Yeah.
room with you?
but it says that figures caught in a gaseous form can't pass through the wind wall
Does he that
in the
part?
spell.
It does.
I just read it
That's my motherfucking wind wall.
because it's gonna screw up my arrow, so I was checking. But yeah, it also says he can't. Creatures in gaseous form can't pass through it.
Why would they even have a hypothetical for that?
Because this.
Because of
this.
Because of things right here.
This moment.
Listen, I'm not going to have the know your spells debate today. We'll talk about that another time. But on the occasion that someone in your party does cast a spell with some unforeseen consequence to the party, do what Laura did here. Make lemonade. On her next turn, Keyleth asks the party what the mist is, presumably because she saw it try to move away, and the other player characters tell her that it's a vampire. Matt still considers this thin ice regarding metagaming, but he allows it. And yeah, I can understand that. While I don't know if I 100% agree with the initial assessment that the first example counted as metagaming, I can definitely appreciate the perspective that not a ton has changed since her last turn to trigger this question being asked. I also don't think of this as the sort of thing that the cast struggles with quite as much these days. As these campaigns continue, look, I'm never going to claim that they've stopped metagaming, even sometimes metagaming in ways that specifically bother me, but this sort of situation just doesn't come up that often anymore. More likely, if a character enters a room, the player will probably lean into the fact that their character is working with faulty information. But again, styles change and situations are different. I can imagine it was especially frustrating for Marisha to try not to metagame when she definitively knew that she has a vampire-killing spell that works way better than anything the rest of the party has. Anyway, she decides to spend her bonus action to justify asking what the mist is, and that settles the issue. Once again, sometimes the best solution to make everyone feel better is to offer a trade that equalizes things, like spending one of your resources like a bonus action. Keyleth blasts Tyleri with a Sunbeam spell and obliterates him. A few of the guards try to get away, but Vox Machina can't let any survivors escape, so Grog smashes one of them, Vex electrocutes another, and Keyleth vaporizes the last with her still active Sunbeam. They interrogate the last guard, but he doesn't know anything they don't know. Except that he mentions that an informant gave this house the heads up about the attack. That seems relevant. Also, it seems he was one of the folks who hung the bodies from the Sun Tree, so Vax slits his throat. Meanwhile,